Hello and welcome back to Redesigned Rose. Today we are going to be walking through how to make this incredibly cute beanie hat. I have to say this is my favorite pattern. It only takes one skein of yarn. There is only one stitch that will alternate back and forth, and you can make one of these in an hour, hour and a half, just depending on how fast you work. So they work up super quick, they're very comfortable, they're very thick, and let's get started. I can't wait. One thing you do need to know about this hat is it is worked from the bottom up. So we'll start by making the brim first, and then flip that on its side and then begin to work from the top of the brim up to the top of the hat, where we will cinch that closed. The only materials that you're going to need is going to be, of course, your yarn. This is Hue Plus Me. I do really like this yarn. It is a number 5 bulky, but it's pretty lightweight. It's not a heavy weight as compared to some other number 5 bulky weights. It is 80% acrylic and 20% wool, so it does have that warmth, but not too much on the itchy side. And I am using an 8mm hook, and you'll probably also need a pair of scissors. So to begin our brim, we're going to go ahead and create our slip knot. And we'll start with a chain of 8. And then what we're gonna end up doing is working a single crochet. We're gonna start in this second loop from the hook. I'm gonna start working single crochets all the way down. And so by the time you get to the end of your row, you're gonna end up with 7 single crochets. All right, and then when we get down to the last one, we'll chain 1 and turn. And then you're gonna work single crochets again, but just into the back loop only. So instead of going through both, just go into the back loop for the first 6. One of the things that I like to do is to go through both loops on that 7th stitch, because it will help create a nice strong edge all the way along the brim of the hat. So on this last one here, you see that last V, go ahead and go through both of those. Work that single crochet. Once again, chain 1 and turn. And then you're going to repeat the same exact thing. Single crochets in that back loop only. Until you get to that last stitch. And you're going to want to go through both the front and back loop. So I'm here at that last one, go through both of those. And chain 1 and turn. And just continue to do this, working your single crochets into that back loop, except for that very last stitch. So I have worked up a total of 48 rows, and the easiest way for me to count, each one of these raised ridges here counts as 2 stitches. So you can count the valley and the stitch, the valley and the stitch if you like, but I just find it's easier just to count those top ridges here. And once you get to 24 of those, what that's going to do is give you approximately 21 inches. So this size is for mostly a teen size, adult, small size, if you will. This is a very stretchy yarn. I do like to stretch it out just a little bit when I'm measuring. Otherwise, if I don't, by the time I'm making the hat, I find that the size, once I'm putting together, the size is not always what I needed. So go ahead and stretch that out just a little bit until you get to, like I said, this will give you approximately 21 inches, which is perfect for a small adult or a teen size. Although my 6-year-old wears this size, so again, just because that's stretchy, forgiveness, it's really a good universal size. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put these ends together, just like this. And I do go ahead and take my hook out. And what I like to do is go ahead and come in from this side. And then I'm gonna go back in through my loop and I'm gonna pull this through. And what we're gonna do is go ahead and slip stitch these ends together. So then I'm gonna go into the next stitch here and I'm gonna go all the way through, just like this. Pull that through and slip stitch to join. And the next one here, and go through all of those and slip stitch. And do this all the way down. And then don't forget to get in where that slip knot is, because you do want these to be nice and even. And that's going to create, we're going to go ahead and turn this right side out. So you have your nice circle brim. And then you can just barely see where that seam is. There will be a bit of a seam on the back of the hat. Hopefully that doesn't bother you. Definitely doesn't bother me, but you want to make sure your ends are nice and even. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is get my hook right back in here. I'm going to chain 1. Now I like to take my tail and go ahead and weave it in through this first row. And what we need to do is put a single crochet into each valley and braid. So you will end up, just like I said, there's 48 rows, you're going to end up with 48 single crochets into each one of these. So I'll go ahead and go into this first one, into the valley, just single crochets. And I'm just going right over top of this tail so that that can be hidden. And so I'm just going, there's actually a nice little spot that this creates right on top of the braids, and then right in the center is where you're going to go into that valley, as I call it. Okay, so we are coming up on the end of this first round. Go ahead and get that 48th stitch in there. And then what we're going to end up doing is going into that very first single crochet and slip stitch to join. And so what you'll end up having is, of course, your brim, and now we've created a nice sturdy base with the single crochet to begin working up. This next row we're going to do is just going to be a double crochet into each stitch, and then from there we're going to start working front post and back post double crochets. So it is the same stitch, just worked just a little bit differently, and I will show you how to do that when we get there. First we're going to chain 2, and then in each and every one of these single crochets, we're going to work a double crochet. And so again, you'll want to end up with 48 as you get all the way around this first row. So just a double crochet in each and every one. So I'm going to work the rest of this row off camera, and I will meet up with you in just a moment. I'm at the end of our row 2, the first row of double crochets, my 48th double crochet. And then what I want to do is go into the top of this chain 2 right in here, and I'm going to slip stitch to join those. Then we're going to start row 3, and to do that we'll do a chain 2, and this is where the pattern starts that's going to create this effect of these vertical rows as well as these horizontal rows, but these that are more pronounced. These are going to be the front post, and in between is going to be the back post double crochets. So we've just completed this portion of the hat, and now we're going to get started right into that very first popped up row. All right, so the first one that we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to go to this first double crochet. We're going to do a front post, meaning we're going to take our hook and just go right behind and complete your double crochet just as normal. Now this next one, we're going to do a back post, meaning we're going to come in from behind. And so you're going to have that double crochet over your hook here, and then you'll pull your yarn up and complete your double crochet. Those two are the entire rest of this pattern. So next one, we're going to do front post, and next one is back. It's just alternating every other one. Front post and back. So it's just working a double crochet around the double crochet beneath it. And you can start to see this pattern that it creates. That is just so cute. And by the way, which is almost completely reversible, because it will look exactly the same on the back, which is fun. And so you're just going to continue this all the way around, alternating those front and back post double crochets. Okay, so I am getting to the end here. I've got this one last front post double crochet, and then I'm once again going to come to the top of that chain 2. I actually like to go right into the top of that stitch and slip stitch to join. So this here that you're seeing, that is going to be your seam, which in this pattern, it is hidden just so well. All right, so to start our row 4, we're going to go ahead once again and chain 2. We're going to make sure that we continue front post double crochets on top of the fronts and back post double crochets on the back. You're just going to repeat the same exact pattern. So front and a back. Front and back. We'll just continue this all the way around. And so you can start to see where that's creating that super cute pattern. I just love this pattern, you guys. It works up so fast and just makes for such a cute hat. Has a good shape to it. All right, I'm gonna continue to work my way around off camera and I will meet up with you at the end. All right, so just coming up to the end of this next row. I finished that last back post double crochet, and then I'm going to come into the top of this chain, the very top stitch there, and slip stitch to join. It's like my yarn's got a little bit of some white fuzz stuck to it. All right. So once again, this is the look of that seam. If it helps, you can always place stitch markers here. I've just made so many of these hats that I can very easily identify when I'm at my next round. But I'm gonna go ahead and continue to work this up off camera until I get to row number 11. Okay, so I have worked up to row number 11, and these next couple of rows is when we are going to, we're gonna work one row of single crochets all the way around, and then 2 reducing rows, and then we will close up our hat. So we are almost there. So I just slip stitched to join. I'll go ahead and chain 1, and then I'm going to work a single crochet into each and every stitch. The very top. And this again is just going to create a nice uniform base to start those reducing rows and brings those front and back posts together to one row. All right, so just finished that row of single crochet. We'll go ahead and go into that very first one and slip stitch to join. That is considered our row 12. To start row 13, go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to go into the first stitch and pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through all 3. Then for the next 3, we'll do a single crochet into each stitch. Then the next 2, we'll do the reducing stitch, pull up a loop, to the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over and through all 3. The next 3, a single crochet into each stitch. And then the next 2, a reducing stitch. And just repeat that pattern all the way around this row. All right, so that third single crochet, and then for these last 2, we'll do that reducing stitch. And then go into the next one to slip stitch and join. All right. Our final row is going to be just all reducing stitches. So every 2, yarn over and pull through all 3. And this is where it's really going to start to close up a bit more. All right, so we're coming around to the end of this final row. And we'll go ahead and just slip stitch that final one. Now is when we get to give our hook a break. And then what we'll do is just snip off the excess. And just so you can see, this is about how much I have left. This is how close I cut it to that one skein of yarn. All right, now what we'll end up doing is closing the top of our hat here. I'm gonna grab a tapestry needle that does have a very big eye here that's gonna accommodate that thicker yarn. And make sure all the strands get put through there. And then what I'm gonna go ahead and do is thread that through my loop. It creates a knot, hold that in place. And then what we'll end up doing here is weaving this needle through the tops of these final stitches we did. We're just gonna alternate back and forth. Gonna pull that through and just weave back and forth. All the way around. Until I am right back at the beginning. So I'm gonna go through there. And then what we'll do is go ahead and pull this nice and tight. And then what I like to do is go ahead and take my needle and put that straight down through. I'm gonna turn my hat inside out. I'll go ahead and pull that tight again. Then I'm going to weave this through a few times just to hold that closed before I create a knot. And since I've pulled it so tight, it is being a little tricky, but that's okay. That's what we want. We'll just ensure that that's not going to come undone. And right about here, I'll go ahead and go through, create that knot. And just so I can sleep better at night, we'll do one or two more, because why not? We worked so hard on this. I'm gonna make sure it's not gonna go anywhere. I'll go ahead and take my needle off and snip off that end there. Now you can leave your hat just like this if you like, but I do like to go ahead and put on a little pom-pom on the top as well as one of my little tags. So what I'll end up doing is finding that seam right here and making sure that's on the back. So I'll turn that over. Sure that's on nice and straight. And then now I will attach my pom-pom. So for the last step, I'm gonna go ahead and attach this fur pom-pom. I got these off of Amazon. I will link in the description below where I got these from. I do prefer these kind. All I'm gonna end up doing is sewing this to the top. That way, these can be easily snapped off and removed so that this can go into the wash, and then this can be put back on afterwards so that it does not get ruined. So I've just sewn the bottom of that button on. Last steps, go ahead and snap that on. And now we have got our adorable hat complete and ready to wear. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. I definitely appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed already, I would appreciate if you would click that subscribe if you find this helpful. And I look forward to working on some more projects with you very soon.